Hide that. Hide that. Hide 30 meeting. There we go. All right. Thanks everybody for coming out. What's that? Oh, turn on videos.
Open the different box over there.
Yeah. No. Damn it. Where's Zoom? Where's Zoom? Huh. What's going here? Maybe just minimum. Huh. Good. Good. Wait, we are sharing. We are screen sharing. What's wrong? Can you not see it? Oh. Okay.
The video's on, yeah.
All right. Thanks everybody for coming out to our February Lunch and Learn. Welcome to Green Spaces. If this is your first time, I'm Michael Walton. I'm the executive director. We've got a really great presentation for you today that we will get to momentarily. So our mission here at Green Spaces is advancing the sustainability of living, working, and building in the Chattanooga region. And everything that we do is only thanks to support from people like you. One of our most exciting events throughout the years are twice annual Green Prix. The dates for that are going to be March 24th and 25th. And we're excited that this is actually going to be out at Volkswagen at the assembly plant in one of their big parking lots. So we're really excited to have that new partnership and the new location. If you'd like to sponsor the Green Prix, there's some really great opportunities for that. Give Wayne a call or an email, or he's in the back right there. Wave, Wayne. Another big thing happening this year is the city's climate action plan. So this is built off of our integrated community sustainability plan and the city's regional resilience plan. But you've got some of the goals here on the left. We expect this to go to city council in the near future. So probably sometime this month or next month. If you're interested in getting involved, the city is going to be setting up committees to focus on these different areas. Our Empower program, so teaching workshops about low cost and no cost ways to lower your electric bills. We have workshops in English and Spanish coming up. So if you'd like to learn more about that, please come to one of our workshops, or if you want to host a workshop at your place of business, your church, some other community group, just let us know. We're always happy to provide these workshops. Our next Green Drinks is going to be February 22nd from 5 to 7 p.m. We're still looking for a location for that. Is that right? So if you're interested in hosting Green Drinks, please let me know. Green Leader. Oh, this is exciting. So our professional certificate is expanding. So we've got more schools that are going to be partnering with us. So Chattanooga State is going to be offering the Green Leader professional certificate. And actually Lipscomb University in Nashville should be offering it later this year. So if you're interested in becoming a leader in sustainability, this is a great online course to take. and you've got a few different options for that. But reach out to Madison if you have questions. And then our new green business directory is, so Green Spaces membership and Greenlight are now one and the same. So all of the businesses that are members of Green Spaces are now part of the Greenlight Green Business Certification Program. And your progress will be basically published on your directory listing in our Green Business Directory. We're going to be really pushing the Green Business Directory hard to the public later this year to recognize the businesses that are leading in this space. So if you're interested in being a business member of Green Spaces, a nonprofit member of Green Spaces, please let Madison know, and we'll get you started on your path to being Greenlight certified. Thank you, as always, to our founding partners, Compass and Franklin Architects. Thanks to all of our members, Scenic City Solar, New Terra Compost, Grace Frank, Modus, Rockridge Venture Law, Green Strategies, Franklin. All of our members help make all of this work happen. We couldn't do it without you. And like I said, membership is also now part of Greenlight, and you get lots of great benefits and discounts on all of our other programs. If you want to become a member, either as an individual or business, reach out to Wayne. And with that, I'm excited to present to you Hector Moreno with Green Healthy Homes Initiative. We've been working with Hector since, well, we've been working with the Green Healthy Homes Initiative since like 2015. And then Hector has been coming to Chattanooga to train our staff, to train community health workers with LifeSpring, to train UTC students for the past several years. He was most recently here in 2018. So we're excited to have Hector back with us and to give him, so we're actually in the midst of a 2-day training with Hector to do healthy home assessments with our staff and our Build It Green members. And this Lunch and Learn is sort of just a little taste of that, sort of a 101 version of healthy homes. So with that, I'll hand it over to Hector. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael, for the invitation. Thank you for yeah, also for extending me like the invitation to be here today. It's a pleasure, and this is almost my second home in the United States, because most of the time I used to be in Baltimore, and then Chattanooga was the second place I would spend more time. So many trips over here, but I love the city. I'm glad that I got to come back. So really quick, so actually that's a really old picture of me. I need to get a new one. Just let me start showing the presentation. So personal stuff. You see it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah, here you go. Okay, perfect. Technology.
Little button right there. We can admit people. Don't worry. Okay.
Alrighty.
Perfect.
Okay, so just to give you good? No? Not yet.
Is that good? Okay.
Alrighty. Are you sure? Okay, so just to give you a little bit of a background on my organization and myself, I work for the Green and Healthy Home Initiative. They are located, the location is in Baltimore, Maryland. They have been, organization have been on for almost 30 plus years. The organization started as the coalition to end childhood lead poisoning back 30 years ago or so. And the idea was back then to remove lead hazards from houses in the community, low-income families, with the idea to basically remove that hazard and basically avoid for kids to getting sick and to get lead poisoning so they could not be sick, or they would not be able to remain like healthy and be successful members of the society and not grow up like under the effects of that toxic. So, but then we always had a crew of the workers working in the organization. So every time they would go out, they would come back to the office saying, okay, they had a good feeling like helping the children, but they would realizing that they were only removing the lead of the houses or controlling the lead. They were also realizing that there were pest infestations in the home. There were mold, gross contamination in the home. So there were a multiplicity of hazards that were also affecting the family. But we were just there to remove the lead, which was great, but still there was so much to do. So the organization decided at some point to change. Instead of like being only about lead, we became the healthy home. We adopted the healthy home approach to do more like comprehensive assessment, comprehensive education, and comprehensive intervention. Later on, we decided also to include, since we were going to homes, we already there, let's do energy audits. And then we added the green component to the name, and now we are the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative. I have been with the organization now for 13 years, and I started as a home assessor, energy auditor. Then from there became the quality control person, overseeing the work on the field for assessment. And then after so many years, they asked me, hey, we need someone to teach all that stuff to other people. So they pulled me from the crawl spaces and the attics. Now they send me here to talk to you guys. And so bear with me. I was not raised as a professional motivational speaker, but I'm here. So the idea is to give you a more perspective of what healthy home from a practical point of view. Usually we hear these definitions about healthy homes, like a conceptual definition would be a century-old concept promoting safe, decent, and sanitary housing as a mean of preventing disease. But then there's another one more functional, that is like designing, constructing, rehabilitating houses to be conducive to health and safety of the occupants. But then for us that we're in the field doing the work, that doesn't help us define what we have to do. So at the same time, this came out through HUD and other organizations. You had the 7 principles of healthy homes, that they were just principles. And let's see. So the idea was to kind of like give those more conceptual, but from those 7 principles, we added 8. That was the more make the house energy efficiency. And now when for us that we are in the field doing the work, we had expanded from 8 principles. I need to find a way to mute the background. Let's see. Can you control that from there? Okay. So now we're assessing for 29 hazards, and probably there are more hazards. Definitely there are more hazards. But the idea is then the new approach is to try to identify as many hazards as possible to make the house healthier and safer and then more comfortable to people. The idea principally is to avoid children from getting sick, so they would not miss days of schools, and because for the community, usually the community we serve, their parents may have not have vacation or sick leave, or they would have multiple jobs, so it would be difficult for parents to stay at home and take care of the kids. So to avoid all that complication, we saw like the duty, our mission to then make the houses healthier, so kids would not be sick, would not miss days of school, would get a better education, and parents would remain more as productive as they were. So it would benefit the family, but they would have a ripple effect in society. And that was the concept. And in time, it has started to take off in other cities in the US. Right now, we have around 35 cities that we collaborate to replicate the same model that we created in Baltimore, and now we are basically replicating that in different areas, including Chattanooga. And I came to the organization through the EPA. I used to work for the Environmental Protection Agency for 16 years, got tired of working for the government, federal government, believe it or not. And then I decided to kind of like go into something more practical. I was doing too much pure science back then. I needed to see more where the science meets the road. So I moved to the health department, Cincinnati Health Department, and from there I decided to move into healthy homes, and that's why I joined the organization, and I love it. It's constantly learning about new stuff. The healthy home industry is growing. The learning curve to all of you. So instead of having to go through 13 years of pain in crawl spaces and attics, then I try to accelerate that and keep you from being too much time in attics and crawl spaces. So, but to understand this principle, you have to understand the house by itself. And this is when you hear the probably heard this term before. The house is a system. The house is full of systems. Yeah, it's true, because then you have to understand all this like intricacies in that house to understand basically the root causes of the hazards. The hazards inside the house are the reflection of all the systems inside the home that they go whack, they go crazy. They're poorly maintained, and so they lose their function. And when they lose their function, they start affecting other systems. And that, for example, moisture. If you're not removing the moisture from the house through having nice roofs, gutters and downspout, that's a system. If that system fails, moisture gets in the house and then start affecting other systems, like start rusting the metals inside the house. So now the fluids that are supposed to conduct the combustion gases out of the house, because there's a lot of moisture, then that's rusted. And then instead of the gases going to the chimney, so those gases are being spilled inside the house. Now we have carbon monoxide hazards inside the house. So what started from moisture coming from the roof, now is becoming combustion byproducts getting into the home, being the house. So the same thing with the other hazards. That's the way they act. It's kind of like they affect. There's always a chain reaction that happens. So this you may see after everything that I'm saying, you see the two pictures: the space station and the house in the suburbs. The message is that it doesn't matter where your house is in the suburbs, in downtown, on a farm, or going around the planets. All these are houses that depend on the same type of systems. And they all are houses. They are separating the individual from the outside. And separating the individual from the outside means that, like, okay, protecting from the snow, from the rain, from the heat, from the meteorites that are coming to hit the station, all kind of stuff, all those dangers that happen outside. And then also to bring the things that you need, like water, like a good air, and food, all that to bring it in, and then also all the waste that is generated inside to throw it outside staying outside through the sewage system, or I don't know what they do in space. Probably they throw it over outside the window. But the idea is the same, that they're similar systems. Here's just a sample. They are all kind of horribly one on top of the other, so we're not going to spend too much here. So at least you have the idea of the foundation, the roof, the walls. Those are structural systems. You see the heating system, cooling system, and then you have the plumbing system. All that supposed to work together to make you safe, to make you healthy, and also to keep you comfortable inside where you live in space or in the suburbs. But the idea is that, but then when things start out of whack, as I said, when things are not properly maintained, when things were not properly installed. So those are things start like, or when things get old, and when things start like breaking apart because the pieces, the components are old. So bad things start happening, and that's when you see the moisture increasing inside the house, because now we cannot either keep the moisture out, or we cannot, there are things inside the house that kind of like they're not removing the moisture to the outside. So moisture increases. If moisture increases, then possibility of mold and then start increasing. So there's a tight connection, as probably you know, between moisture and mold. Those are the only thing we can control. The only way we can control mold inside the house is by controlling the amount of moisture. So from that, it's like, okay, if mold is already in the picture, that mold is going to start rotting the wood around the house. So you see the chain reaction, just because moisture now is inside the home. And then the rust produced by the moisture then start like rusting the vents, and then you have carbon monoxide release. Then moisture is going to condense on surfaces, and then now the surfaces are going to be slippery. And then you're going to see, especially if you are a person that have some walking impediment, or older adult, or anyway, at the end of the day, the incidence of falls, trip and falls, may be increased because you have a lot of surfaces inside the house with condensation, and they become slippery. So what else? Pest infestation. Pests love being in places that are humid. The roaches like sleeping or invading areas that are wet. That's why they're usually in the kitchen, not only for the food, but also those spaces tend to be more humid. That attracts the pest infestation to certain areas. The mouse like going through material that is humid, is softer. What else? Electrical, so you have fire hazards or electrical shocks because now you have moisture involved. So you get the idea, all the things that could happen. And lead-based, don't forget about lead-based paint. If you have high moisture in the house, the paint is going to start chipping away. And if it starts chipping away, then if there were layers of lead-based paint under cover by fresh paint, so that fresh paint start peeling, now the lead paint get exposed once again. Asbestos deterioration, VOCs, high humidity increases the gassing of chemicals from materials, of construction material. Radon infiltrations, if the foundation start cracking it, so you see now radon getting into your home. So all the things, they cannot be dealt one at a time. You have to be able to understand how everything connects, so you can do the work comprehensively, so you can control it. The control is more effective and it's more sustainable. Many of these programs that we work with, we only have funding to visit the family one time or a couple of times at the most. So we have to, whatever we do in the work, we have to be really strategic and use the materials that are they're going to last longer, more durable, the processes or protocols that also are going to ensure a little bit more sustainability on the work that we do, on the benefit. But again, we always running against time, because the houses keep deteriorating, and many of the families that we work with, they don't have the means to maintain the houses. And so we are always in that race, trying to nowadays, our measures, we could say that maybe they have a shelf life of 5 to 10 years. But then, like, what happened after 5 or 10 years? We need to start developing protocols that the benefits would last 10 years. So the family would remain healthy and safer for the longest time. But so that's why this role, or this profession, is so interesting, because it's a mixture of everything: science, engineering, human behavior, societal issues. So it's kind of like always interesting in those aspects. I kind of like all bringing together from the house perspective. So for us, you have the 8 principles of healthy home that were originally developed to start educating people on those goals that your home should at least be like within those 7 or 8 principles for you to have a good, healthier, safer, comfortable living in your home. But now after 13 years or more, we know more. So now it's like, it's not eight principles or 8 things that you have to look for. There are 29 or more things that you have to look to actually make it work. So our work in the field becomes also interesting because you have to learn so many other things about, not just about water getting to your home. It's about the products, which products are more resistant to moisture compared to the others. And then you start adding climate change. So that's climate change is going to affect the house, the structure. So if the things that we start now, we're starting to change protocols considering the extreme weather events. So it's such a dynamic process that makes it really interesting. GHHI, after 13 years, I went back to Puerto Rico, and then we're opening an office in Puerto Rico, and now it's kind of like reinventing the wheel because it's kind of completely different construction, the issues, more climate change impacted area. So it's basically trying to adapt what we have done here for many years to make it work in Puerto Rico under the new tropical conditions, extreme weather conditions, different structure, different culture. So again, it's really interesting, and always, and that's what we do, always trying to find out what's the different ways in which the house gets impacted by weather or other conditions, to make sure to get that information and then get it to you guys in the field. So at this moment, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to just stay on the 8 principles because of time. So I'm going to take you for many of the considerations like that we go through when we talk about all these generic goals or principles, the things that is not just the goal, it's also some practical aspects of the things that we do to keep the house dry, for example. There are some things that we need to keep in mind all the time, but we always start with the basics. Okay, the effects of moisture in your home. So single greatest threat to the building, durability and long-term performance. Something that we say is that if we allow moisture to get inside the home or to get a hold of your home, that's when the problem starts. The water moisture is one of the most destructive substances out there in terms of that they're involved all kind of chemical reactions in the house and all the different changes that once it gets into the house. So bacteria, all these organisms, pests, they need water. So this is not just the chemical reactions, also the biological systems that that need the water, they seek the water and they come to your house looking for water, and all that has to be taken in consideration. Causes high humidity is going to be the culprit for mold growth, which is not only make the family sick, also going to affect the structure, and then makes the house less efficient. If you have a high humidity environment in the house, the air is going to be more difficult to warm or to cool because of that humidity. So we need to get the humidity under control for people to feel comfortable living in their homes. And then condensation, as I mentioned before, is going to be one of the principal causes of metal rusting in the house, oxidation of metals. And then it's not only the effects of moisture on the structure, also what happened with people. Major influence of the indoor air quality and health, favorable environment for dust mite. As long as there is water available, you have all these organisms surviving from that amount of water inside the home. And then excess moisture affects your respiratory system. And then sometimes we forget about that, and I mentioned it before. The high moisture is going to cause blistering of the paint, meaning that you see the little bubbles that happens on the layers of paint, and then they burst and kind of creating chipping and peeling paint. The picture on the right is a house that I went. It was one of those houses that we got there too late. It was at the point of no return. It started maybe 3 years before there was a big snowstorm in Baltimore, and the gutter on one side of the house got a lot of snow. The weight of the snow basically pulled the gutter out of place. The family didn't have the knowledge and even the means to fix it, so they let it sit like that, without a gutter on that side. After a few years, not having a gutter there to remove the water allows the water just to run on that side of the house day after day after day. The water ate the grout away between the bricks, and finally the water found a breach on the wall, and from the second floor started coming down, and that's the kitchen, right on the same wall of that gutter, the gutter that failed. And then so once the water got in, then start creating all this like destruction, rust, all the mold start growing, pest infestation grew. So and then water started accumulating on the basement, and then you had the water accumulation basically destroyed the HVAC system, the water heater. So all the system, basically the house collapsed. All the systems in the house were collapsing. So when we got there, it was impossible to do anything. So there was not enough funding, and that's one of the problems that we find ourselves, that there's not enough funding out there. We're working on always under condition of limited resources. So we have to make decisions that what's the worst. Get at a point at the house that we know that we're going to have an impact, positive impact, because sometimes we get to home with $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, and sometimes in situations like this, that's just a little band-aid that doesn't help, is not going to help. So the idea, that's another part that I'm not going to get into, but part of what we do is also try to find those other sources, more sustainable sources of funding that would basically help detach ourselves from the government in a sense, because I mean, all this fluctuation every 4 years, you have different government, different parties, so different priorities. So depending on the government, sometimes it gets really unstable. So it's important to find more constant, more sustainable means of generate funding to keep helping these families, and not just to provide a band-aid, but to provide meaningful help. But that's another day to talk about it. So while always the principal area, the principal spot that we always look in terms of water is usually the gutters and the downspout. 80% of the problems that I find inside homes is because there's a defect with gutters and downspout. When I see now, after the years, I see a gutter that is not properly designed or is defective, and I know, okay, if I go inside, I'm going to see this and that, and effectively I go in and see. So it gets more, and you see the predictability of when you see gutter, downspout. And usually a gutter and downspout, you can fix it with $350 on one side, or if you want to do the full side, it could be, on an average home, it would be maybe $1,200, $1,300. So it's in a big scheme of things, it's some things that could be fixed relatively easy, but then if you not fix it on time, it could destroy your home or the water coming in. So so we look at the conditions of the roof, not only that is deteriorated like the picture on the left. So we're looking for the red flag. The picture in the middle, you see the stains on the roof. Most of the time, those are areas that do not dry quickly. So it's holding water, and if it holds water, then it causes potentially for rot to occur in those spots. And then when I went in, the following picture is the inside under those spots, and you can see the delamination. Then because of weakening of the rot, the mold, the rot eating the wood away, because there's a moisture that remains for longer on the spot, then you see the deterioration. So you have to get into attics. But again, I was telling the students earlier that it's not that for you to get into the attic, is for you to have the knowledge that if there's a problem with the roof or something on the structure, if you hire someone to fix it, that person at least has to get into the attic. Because at least it give you the perspective. If I hire someone and that person doesn't get into the attic, you don't know anything. So I get another opinion. So at least the basic information that we provide to the clients also helps them be able to distinguish between a good and a mediocre contractor out there. So if information still is a good tool nowadays. So the one on the bottom is more related than windstorms, that tiles that fly away because high winds. So we also keep track of that, and those are vulnerabilities into that roof. So we need to fix that right away. Those are the easiest ones. And there is not only water coming from the inside, it's also the water that may burst come from the inside. Fixtures that are leaky. The one in the middle, it's a sewage backing up from the toilet. In this case, drainage underneath a kitchen sink that the drain is not working properly, so it's kind of like leaky. Or you have a water line that bursts. So all that moisture has to go somewhere inside the house, and that's part of our role, is to, okay, where is that water going? What kind of trouble that water is causing? And one of the first main trouble is always going to be mold. Sometimes we also forget about the contribution from humans in that house. A crowded house is going to produce a lot of moisture, and that moisture is going to cause trouble. So if you have a overcrowded house, and that house doesn't have exhaust fan in the bathroom, exhaust fan in the kitchen, so you have a lot of moisture being accumulated inside, and again, the possibility of moisture. You see at the bottom, a 4-member family can generate 10 gallons of moisture per day. That could be waste, that could be perspiration, that would be just cooking. And so in some way, we kind of like produce that amount of water in a day. And sometimes plants is becoming, nowadays that we are doing weatherization, that we are air sealing the house to make the house more efficient. Sometimes we have been learning the hard way that when we air seal the house, we have to make sure that we tell the owners to reduce the amount of plants that they keep inside, because if people keep watering, I mean, right now, we are sealing the home so the house is not drying by itself. Usually the old houses, they have leaks, so the moisture inside naturally fizzles through all the cracks, and they dissipate into the environment. But when you do weatherization, you air seal, because you want to hold the air that you're warming in the winter, or the air that you're cooling in the summer, to remain. So you don't want the HVAC system to be working all the time. So you create a thermos with the home that keep the air for a long time, so you can manipulate the air. But so now the moisture cannot escape. If you have a lot of plants, so if no one tells you, makes you aware, now the house is sealed, so all that moisture that you pour into the water every day, so now it's kind of like, it's not going anywhere. It's kind of it's being attached, it's getting condensed on the walls and surfaces. In couple of occasions, when we start doing this type of work, weatherization work, we start getting the calls after weatherization, a week after, hey, I have mold everywhere. And then when we go and see what was the problem, it's like, someone forgot to tell the owner that they have to be careful how much water they pour on the plants, because that water needs to go somewhere, and now it can escape. So little things that you learn with the trade. Condensation, these are examples of condensation, water vapor that is floating around in the air. At some point, it's going to touch a cool surface, and then it's going to change into water. And you see the first picture on the left. Let me see something here. Oh, this is, okay, my bad. Uh-oh. What happened here? Let me go back. Okay, I'm back. I'm alive. Yeah. So I need to. Can you see it? No, sorry.
There. Go to hit stop share. And then go to small screen. Go back to the one, or do you
Oh, no,
try to
okay.
switch? They're both 101s. Hit that one. Share. That look good?
Oh, perfect. Alrighty. So, okay, so these are different examples of water condensation that if you see in time, it's gonna cause rust, or you're gonna cause peeling paint or rot. Another problem that we get with moisture then is our friend here, the mold. Mold is in nature. Basically it's a garbage man, garbage person that kind of is in charge of decomposing the organic material. But then since our homes are made of wood, the main dish for the mold, so they're gonna feed from our houses. But the only way we can control the mold in the houses is then controlling what they need to grow the most. Second to the food is the water. So if we control the amount of moisture in your house, then you can control the growth of the contamination with mold. So that's part of the strategy. And here you see this is mold being grown in the laboratory in a petri dish with enriched media. So you see the mold in this situation is going to show you the best colors and the best features. But then when those same mold you put inside the house, that is the same food day after day. There's nothing different. It's basically the same type of wood that we build with. So the mold tend to be kind of in a dull color. You don't see the same bright color. So sometimes you hear some people saying, "Oh, that's black mold." And it's like, no, it's not really. The only way you can tell that it's black mold or it's not black mold is by taking a sample and taking it to a laboratory. But for the most part, mold inside the house, because of the diet, they usually going to have a dull, darkish kind of color. But at the end of the day, you don't want any type of mold in your house. You don't want to breathe. It could be the good guy mold. It's not the black mold, the toxic one. So you don't want any type of mold. You don't want to breathe anything like that. So also we think about mold in terms of asthma most of the time, but we forget that also mold can cause infections, lung infection, skin infections, and then we also forget about the toxic reaction that could cause kind of destruction of tissues in your body. So different type of health outcome, health issues are associated different type of maybe your what you're doing on it as a living. For example, in my case, since I visit so many homes in my work, I have to be conscious about lung infections because I'm getting exposed more than average person to mold in high concentration, in low concentration. Each house is going to have some issues of mold. So me being exposed, so exposes me to infection and to toxic effects. So I always have to wear gloves, and I don't have to suit up, but at least I have a respirator, some plastic, some gloves to not to avoid touching surfaces. But I make sure that change clothes every time I visit those areas in the house. But for other people that only stay in the house and they may not have a direct contact with mold, they might be more an allergic type of reaction what you're getting, or asthma. Also, depending on the surface, you're going to have different type of mold. If they're starting with the picture on the top left, that's all wood, like maybe 100, 200-year-old house. The wood is already really dense, so the mold cannot penetrate. So the mold has some structure, like it's called mycelium, that is kind of like, just imagine they're similar there. Like we could call it an analogy would be roots of a plant that trying to get inside the material to digest the material and then suck the material in. So, but then an old wood is dense, so the mycelium cannot get too deep. So you see that most of the mold like growing on the surface. Then you have the the first picture, you can see that the mold is getting nutrients because you see it's kind of healthier, but it's not invading completely the wood. There are some patches that have mold, other patches not so much. Then the picture in the middle, that's laminated wood, it's really dense, so the mold cannot get inside. So it's gonna grow as dust. It's never gonna develop to its potential, but then if the conditions if the moisture increases significantly, that mold is viable. But it's not developed because it cannot suck in the nutrient that it needs. The same way with that's a brick. It's the wall on the foundation wall, concrete. That's not organic. So that the mold in this case is surviving from the dust, the organic material in the dust that accumulates in that area. So that's what the dust is staying like viable. And then the one on the bottom basically is that drywall. That's the best meal for mold. It's paper, basically paper material, really soft. So that's where the mold is going to take off and grow and invade that material from inside. It would go through. So it would be that's the kind of mold that you see more. Usually you see in homes, since we have a lot of drywall in the home. So that's a good material for mold to digest. So the other stuff, the numbers that you see here, so there are some kind of like physiological conditions that the mold needs for survival, like optimal growth, 68 to 86. So it has a wide range for mold. If you're watching the series, The Last of Us, no, they're talking about the mold that changes the behavior. So people are aware now that mold cannot grow inside the human body because our temperature is above 86 degrees. It's 90, 98 or something like that. Last time I checked. So the mold inside the body is not within the parameters of mold. So that's why you see that the mold, for the most part, doesn't infect the humans as it could happen, but it's not as common. What people are saying now is that with climate change, mold may be evolving to survive at higher temperature, and that's when the people are making the forecast that at some point, if the temperature keep increasing, then the mold, you're going to see more mold infections in human because of that change in the physiology. Relative humidity, anything about 70 is going to be perfect for mold. So imagine living in Florida, Louisiana, Puerto Rico, 100% of the houses probably they're going to have some mold issues in some part of the house. The growth slows down when the temperature lowers. It doesn't mean that it disappears. It goes into a latent phase that is still viable, but it's not growing. And then the best factor to control the growth is with the air conditioner. Keep the moisture below 60% humidity, and with the air conditioner you can keep it around 50%. You can reduce the moisture to below 50. The problem with that is that then we are using electricity. So the energy people, they don't like that. They don't like for the healthy people to be recommended electrical appliances when we should be going the opposite way. So there's always that trade-off between health, safety, and energy. That health and safety, still we need gadgets like the humidifiers, air filters, and all the other things to keep to control the environment inside. There's still a way to go. So what else? AC, the humidifier, keep the relative humidity below 50%. And then the question about bleach. Should we use bleach or we should not use bleach? What's anyone want a quick answer that question? Why not? Exactly. Bleach is perfect to killing mold. but then we're killing ourselves. That's a problem. At the same time that we are trying to get rid of the mold, we're getting rid of ourselves, because usually we don't like measure the concentrations. And if you're coming from Puerto Rico, we have to smell bleach from the street for something to be clean. And so, and that's the problem. It's good to break down the cells in the mold structure, but then it's just the fact that the side effects are bad for you. So, okay, I thought they wanted to come to the meeting. I heard about you. Anyway, so these are kind of like some strategies for mold control, and then we move on to other stuff. So basically, anything below, any contamination below 10 square feet, basically you can do it yourself on your own with the right PPE, personal protection equipment, like a respirator, goggles, gloves, ventilation in that area. But for the most part, we recommend like subcontract someone. So some contract, first they have insurance. If they mess up, at least we can go after them. But then it's like, there's also the fact that they got training and they do the right kind of containment, so any type of debris could get out of the work area. So sometimes you hear anything below 10 square feet, you can do it yourself. Anything above 10, you hire someone. As much as possible, if you have the means, hire someone. If not, then kind of like get some training to at least deal with those small concentrations. It's still, I mean, being exposed to those small concentrations could mess you up. So discard object that have been wet for 48 hours. After 48 hours being wet, all the mold have been growing already. All the spores that are latent are surviving somewhere in the house. If they get wet, so they immediately start growing. And it's after 48 hours, those mycelium, they start getting really deep. And unless you love that piece of fabric of that chair too much, it's going to cost a lot of money to get it clean, deep clean, to remove that mold. And debris, obviously, any type of debris or construction should be wrapped and removed from the house. And then biocide as bleach should not be used due to toxicity. If you read the warning label, the warnings on the label of bleach, obviously you shouldn't be using that product. So, and really quick, this is something that we need to spend more time like educating families to understand how mold works. And the situation is simple. It's like you have what you see on your house, you see only one portion of the mold. You see what we call it the sexual organs, the sporangium. That's the visible part. Yeah, they're visible because they want those spores to be released into the environment. What we are not seeing is the other part, the digestive structure that they're inside, eating away the material, the substrate. So when you hear people that tells you, I have mold in the bathroom, I just use bleach and clean the bathroom, and the mold was gone and then came back in a week. And it's like, oh yeah, sure, I should have told you that. It's just the fact that what the person did is like they wipe up the surface, the visible structure. They never clean deep enough to remove the other cells left, and then those cells they recreated themselves into and they replace the structure that was lost. And then that's usually the game. So you clean, then they are gone, and then they keep coming back. So sometimes the best solution is to cut that contaminated area. If it's too porous, like drywall, you cut it off and throw it away, and then replace it. If not, then you have to clean it really deep to make sure that those myceliums are removed. You can say there are products that you can use that would kill the mold. The problem with that is like the trade-off. It's like, yeah, we are killing mold with the chemical that probably is going to be releasing a lot of fumes, volatile organic compounds into the environment. And if you have a person with asthma, the VOC probably could be as bad as the mold spore. So you have to be also always aware of those trade-off or not trade-off, not, you have to be sure that you are not introducing a hazard when you're trying to remove one hazard. And that's part of the training. That there are some instances that if we are removing carpet because they are contaminated, we are usually replaced with laminated flooring. Laminated flooring is gonna release VOCs, but we know that, and we use a laminated flooring that is low on VOCs. And then we tell the family that, hey, we are gonna remove the carpet. The only option we have is laminated flooring, but these are the trade-off. And then at least the person know that what we're doing and that we're just eliminating a serious health effect for something that might be a little bit lower in the severity list. You see, I was telling someone, anyway, so I've been practicing with transitions and sometimes I'm going too far. So for ventilation, that's a solution also to reduce moisture. And if you reduce moisture, then you remove the possibility for mold. And then ventilation also remove other pollutants in the house. This is one of the other goals. Huh? Oh, okay, all right. So let me go for how much? 5? Close? Okay, all right, anyway. So ventilation is kind of like basically the filtration and ventilation. Usually they are the means that more successfully we use to remove contaminant pollution inside the house. Again, particular matters from mold, from combustion byproducts, from things that come from the environment. So we can filter, but also if we cannot filter everything because it could be, I mean, depending on the side of the house, you have to consider replacing the filter, but also you can use ventilation to dilute the contaminant, and by diluting the contaminants in the house, but then you reduce the health effect. And so I'm gonna leave it here, but the idea behind all this principle of healthy homes is like it's as you can tell, it's like they go deeper into the weeds. It's kind of difficult to tell you about something without telling you the others, and that's the part that sometimes is difficult. That's why the trainings, they last 2 or 3 days to be able to provide a good picture of how all these hazards happen. We at GHHI, we're available. We have more questions, so you can contact me, and then I can share the information with you. Sorry that I wasn't able to finish the whole thing, but again, you get an idea of the type of work that we do. That it's not just education. It's going beyond and kind of doing really thorough inspections, really thorough scope of works, and then intervention to at least to eliminate or mitigate those hazards and keep the family as healthy and possible. Any quick questions? Since we don't have time, I don't know, you want to put it on the mail or anything? You're telling me that you don't have any question after I broke all those beliefs that you have about bleach and. All righty. Here we go.
Is there any program to try to catch these gutters when they first get on roof? It seems like there's a kind of a 20 factor of you fix it before and then a few years as opposed to after. Is there any way for that or you get money?
For the most part, yeah. But then that it would need to, because usually we are always behind the ball. That would be the saying in English or something. Yeah, we're always fixing things that are broken. But if by doing this kind of assessment, more in-depth assessment, I can identify vulnerabilities. So we are not there just identifying hazards that are already existing. Now we are in a better position to identify, okay, those conditions are going to lead to a hazard. So if I see something that might be weakening of the gutters and downspout, I can pinpoint that and include it. But then it's usually it relies on people highly trained and experienced to start reading then those signals. But again, anyone can do it, but it needs time for you to get that at that level. I have been doing this for a long time, that's why.
The specific answer to your question in Chattanooga is no. Like, there is no money to prevent the damage, and there is no money to fix it after it happens.
Oh, okay.
So, no.
But maybe it could change in the future.
Yes.
That's
That's why we're doing this, is because, you know, with especially the Erlanger Nurse Family Partnership, you know, we're getting in and doing these assessments. There's a lot of this stuff exists in a lot of the homes that we go in, and we're either asking the landlord to repair it, or we're asking Erlanger to repair it for these very limited cases for new mothers, for their first baby. But that's like 200 people. So there's no like citywide program to help with this, at least that I'm aware of.
And that's what, I mean, that's why, that's part of our mission, is to kind of like get in partnership with other groups. Because already, for example, since we have been working with the EPA on HUD for many years, now if we are in a partnership with a group, that helps, that positive for that group, because okay, they're working with GHHI, that we know them and we know what they do. And so it's kind of like also kind of like helping in that because of the reputation that we have. So and we are hoping that because of that, then you're going to start getting more funding available. And also we get information earlier. Okay, we know that there's funding coming about for something. We can tell Michael about, hey, there's more funding for electrification, for example, or replacing gas stove. And that's the way that we grow.
All right.
Alex?
Thank you so much for the great presentation. Thanks everybody for coming out. Our March lunch and learn is going to be with the city parks and outdoors department. They're going to be talking about their master plan. And then our April lunch and learn will be with Wind River Custom Homes to look at accessory dwelling units and the sort of latest and greatest from tiny homes. But if you have any other questions, please reach out to us and we will put you in touch with Hector. And yeah, help us advocate for healthier homes in the Chattanooga region. Thank you.
Thank you.